of learning zone. You get the education for all. Gyanwani, Gyanwani, education at your doorstep. Zonia Gyanwani.
I am Professor Vibhuti Patel, Head of the Department of Economics in Mumbai from SNDT Women's University. Dear students, now I would like to introduce you to a very important concern in gender economics, that is women in decision making. This lesson focuses on factors affecting decision making by women, role of voluntary organizations and self-help groups in ensuring decision making by women, review of legislation for women's entitlements, protection of their property rights and social security, social protection, the schemes for safety net for women to combat insecurities created by market volatility, social structure and social security for women, their entitlements, access to control their economic resources, ensuring economic independence and risk coverage created by flood, man-made disaster, earthquake, loss in business, agrarian distress. These are very important concerns. Power of decision making at household level, how the class character determines your decision making power at the community level. Economic status of women and its effect on work participation rate in the economy, income level, health and education in developing countries and in India. Role of kinship in allocation of domestic and social resources, and question for self-study and references. Objectives of this lesson are to explain factors responsible for women's decision-making power in the family and in public life and its bearing on economic performance of women, to discuss women's entitlements and property rights, to debate women's access and control over economic resources, and to highlight relationship between women's economic status and work participation, women's health and educational content. Now, factors which affect women's decision-making power are many, varied. It can be poverty, lack of access of basic resources, lack of access to political party list, low salaries and discrimination at workplace, and these are the root causes of women's underrepresentation in economic and political decision making. If women have to be concerned with survival, there is little time left for assuming position of leadership and economic power. Recognition of women's unpaid work and need for sharing of family and household responsibilities along with training in non-traditional skills are key factors to help explain why so few women worldwide have actual decision-making power in the household, in the community and in the economy. In this context, the voluntary efforts of women, voluntary organizations and self-help groups have played a very important role in enhancing decision-making power and leadership roles of women. Women's participation in preventive diplomacy and negotiations at the peace table were considered to be essential to achieving peace and development and for diverting military expenditures for peaceful purposes. It was suggested that decision-making processes involving both women and men, including in situations of intrastate conflict, could help to create more peaceful approach. The importance of creating national machineries, interministerial bodies, national committees and women's bureaus to ensure women's equal participation in all aspects of decision making with adequate level of staffing and funding and located at the center of political power was cited as critical. In addition, mainstreaming of gender issues in institutions was noted as another means to promote the advancement of women in decision making. The need for effective monitoring mechanism was emphasized, and with time-bound targets and measurable indicators to evaluate the progress. Government of India started Department of Women and Child Development in 1986 when the women's movement in India was at its peak. An IAS officer, C.P. Sujaya, was asked to start the department within the Ministry of Human Resource Development. And by 2006, within 20 years, we have now separate Ministry for Women and Child Development with a specific purpose of enhancing decision making by women on women's concerns. Now, importance of education and training to enable women to have a greater control over their lives has always been emphasized in the discourse on decision making. Training women candidates in the conduct of electoral campaigns, fundraising had proved to be important for effective the election of women in Panchayati Raj institutions. Now we have so many states where 50% of the Panchayati Raj bodies have been represented by women. Once in office, women often need training in parliamentary procedures, budgetary matters, financial expenditure, maintenance of accounts, and audit of all the programs that they take in their hands. Leadership training is considered essential for women at all levels of power structures. The revision of education curricula textbook remains an important means of eliminating gender-based stereotypes, because if you always project an image of woman as a homemaker, woman as a mother, the only aspiration of a girl has to get married and produce children, you will not get women who take decisions. They will always remain in a private realm. Attitudinal change is considered very, very important at the earliest stage of life when boys and girls have not yet internalized sex stereotypes. The role of the media in perpetuating sex stereotypes and the need to ensure a positive view of women and portrayal of girls in a non-traditional roles as a doctors, engineers, lawyers, vice chancellors, politicians, architects, police, pilot, engine driver is very, very important, so that girls aspire to achieve the goal to become something in their life. Continued stereotyping of women and their negative portrayal as sex objects on television and in films undermines the struggle for women's equality. The value of stimulating public debate on diverse roles of women, particularly in public life and in family, is very important. And despite growing presence of professional women in media, decisions about editorial content, production issues, they are controlled by men, and now we are seeing some women who are at the top of the pyramid and who have some decision-making power in the corporate world, in the political structures, and in educational institutions. An urgent need was identified for case studies for women making a difference. Case study on Kalpana Chawla, or case study on Anandibai Joshi, the first woman doctor of our country, or case study of Savitribai Phule, who was the first teacher of our country, becomes very, very important for inculcating leadership qualities among girls, that in spite of all the hurdles, you have to rise. So, monitoring women's participation in government, in corporate world, in political parties, in trade unions, in international organizations, in the financial institutions becomes very, very important for any country to emerge as a strong and powerful country. Women need to seek greater partnership with men to build coalition and strengthen alliance to advocate for women's political empowerment and representation. Women leaders, they have to follow the principles of equality, freedom, life and liberty as enshrined in Constitution Article 14, 15 and 16, and also the CEDAW, Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination, which India has signed this. India has already ratified this clause of the UN. Now, when it comes to legal protection for women in informal sector, now we have a law. We have a series of legislation. We have a Vishakha Directive which talks about safety of women at workplace. Now we have a new law for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace 2013, passed on 8th March 2013 by Parliament of India. This law makes it an employer's responsibility to ensure safety of women at workplace. There is an emphasis, like India adopted women empowerment policy in 2001, which was declared as a women empowerment year, and which talks about empowerment of women at every stage of her life cycle from womb to tomb. It emphasizes education and skills, capacity building and training, and also social audit of all the schemes for economic empowerment of women, for social welfare of women, and for protection of women. Now, self-help groups are also playing very important role in enhancing decision-making power of women. Now, these groups are organizations of women from the downtrodden section of society that empower the women to be self-reliant through capacity and confidence building, and by making microcredit available and accessible to women. SHG movement has taught women the value of savings and strength of working in a collective manner. Still, some of the problems faced by SHG movement may be due to weak group organization, delay in gradation of the groups, bank not playing such a friendly role, or all members may not be involved in economic activity. But by and large, in last 20 years, we have seen increasing number of self-help organization, SHGs, playing important economic role. So much so that even World Bank had to acknowledge its value for the world economy. When it comes to property rights of women and land rights of women, there is a more and more concern right from the government and ministerial level, because India made amendment, Indian Parliament passed a law revising Hindu Code bill, which allows now all Hindu daughters have the same rights as Hindu sons, and the co-partnership rights, inherited property also, they have equal right. Testamentary powers that deny daughters their property right, it has now been restricted. All daughters have full right of residence in the parental and dwelling house. We have a Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, which allows women to have a right to housing and right to shelter both in the matrimonial home and parental home. And we have another labor legislation, series of labor legislation for women in the economy, for the daycare centers of the children, for standard labor standards, for occupational health and safety, for minimum wages. We see that women are making use of all these laws. Now, social structures and social security for women in terms of their entitlement, their control over economic resources and economic independence is very important to understand. Affirmative action for social security by the government, by employers and by self-help organization groups is very important. Women can be empowered by providing economic rights at workplace through SHG movement, through giving property rights and land reforms to ensure land rights to women. Women, in order to empower themselves, must be familiar with banking operations like opening and managing their own accounts, and bills should be made in the name of women. Women with income below taxable limit should be exempt from paying stamp duties. Tax benefits should be extended to women who were only earners in the household. This would be a part of affirmative action. Some governments have done it. We have Madhya Pradesh government which has abolished any property transferred in the name of women. They are not charged stamp duties, and we have seen that now so many property transactions have taken place where women have been declared as owner of the property. Now, how much operational power they have is another very, very different issue. No aspect of economic life is gender neutral. Therefore, every ministry at center and state level must have a women's division, and it should be involved in all decision-making process, not only financial allocation, but planning, budgeting, implementing and monitoring. Women and Child Development Ministry, there is a demand that we should have a separate ministry for children and separate for women, because every time you have a women and child, 95% of the attention goes to child. Even if you do the gender dissection of the budget, most of the schemes which are meant for women and child, only 5% goes for women's individual needs, because we see woman only as a mother. And if we see women as a mother, you are focusing only on women in the age group of 15 to 45 who are producing babies, who are looking after children. What about needs of girl children in the 0 to 14 age group? Don't they need their health, their education, their career aspirations? Doesn't it require attention of the policymakers? Elderly women, where are they? They are not in the discourse on development. The moment you lose your ability to produce baby, because after 45 you don't produce baby, you are not in the realm of policy discourse. So now there is a demand that we should focus on women's interest at every stage of life, whether she is an infant, girl, adolescent, adult and elderly. Power of decision making at the household, class and community level, we have seen that economic independence is a minimum necessary condition for decision making in the family. Even in the community, the women who are articulate, who are excellent in community management, who are able to work in a team, they become very effective in community management. And most of the work of women in the care economy, which is also unpaid. Even the community management is unpaid. Nobody pays a woman for organizing Satyanarayan Puja or Ganpati festival. It is all unpaid labor. But it is so important for betterment and peace and harmony and overall welfare of the community. Now, there is a direct link between economic status of women and its effect on work participation rate, income level, health, education in all developing countries. And what we see is that whenever we are strengthening food security and right to food, public health issues are taken up by the state. There is a reproductive choice is given to women. There is a state support to women's education. Free legal aid is provided by this thing, or the Lok Adalats are organized. Housing rights, sanitation and public toilets are provided. A safe transport is given. Safety net is provided to in the context of economic insecurity. Environmental issues are taken up by the community and the state. Occupational health is taken care of. Crashes and crash is provided for working parents' children. I would not say crash should be only for working mother. There are so many fathers who are also looking after babies, and they are single fathers also. So crashes should be provided for working people, and implementation of labor standards earmarked by International Labour Organization are very important to ensure enhanced decision making of women in all areas of the economy, in all sectors of the economy. Now, role of kinship network is very, very important, because your own family may be very progressive. They may not believe in discrimination, but the pressure of the community, pressure of the kinship, which is also very important in determining the level of autonomy or control, is faced by women. We have a age, gender, location of women, whether you are in the rural areas or in the urban areas, what are the kind of rights and responsibilities that women are given in particular community or caste or cultural group, determines what level of restriction that women will have and what kind of liberties you have. Like, we have so many students who say, had we been in the village, we would not have been allowed to go in a train or for field work all by ourselves. While that kind of in Bombay, it is a norm for women to go alone. At the most, they will go in a group. But you don't that level of liberty and freedom that women have. And once you have that kind of freedom, then your opportunities also increase. If you do your MA Economics and you are not allowed to go out on your own, you will not be able to get a job. Even if you are talented, at the most you will be able to give private tuition sitting in your house. So the moment freedom increases, your opportunities also increase. Please note down the questions that will be asked to you from this unit. One long question would be, which are the factors affecting decision making by women? Other 20 marks question can be, in what way decision making can influence women's education, economic independence, better health and well-being. Third very important question would be, what role kinship network, community leaders, political structures and affirmative action by the state and protective labor laws play in decision making in favor of women? Do you support reservation of seats for women in job? I am talking about job reservation, and also reservation for women in the political bodies, in the electoral bodies, right from the Gram Sabha, Gram Panchayat, District Panchayat, means Village Council, District Council, State Government and Parliament of India, lower and upper houses of Parliament of India. Do you support reservation? Yes or no? And give reasons. What type of social security measures can make decision makers sensitive to women's agenda? In this unit, the short notes you will have to write can be, what is the role of kinship network in impacting women's decision making power? Write short note on self-help groups. Write short notes on protective legislation for women, and you can refer to some very important books which are there in SNDT library by authors such as Devki Jain. Her book Vocabulary of Women's Politics is very good. Irene Tinker's book published by OUP, Oxford University Press, is very good. Persistent Inequalities, Women and World Development. Naila Kabir and R. Subramaniam's book on Institutions, Relations and Outcome by Kali for Women is very good. Naila Kabi's latest book, published in 2012 by Routledge, Engendering Gender Social Protection, is also very useful. And you can also refer to my books, Women Challenges in the New Millennium by Gyan Publication, and also Discourse on Women and Empowerment, published by the Women Press. Thank you.